There we go. Okay, move that here, record on this computer.
Recording in progress.
Okay, we're going to shake up a little bit how the announcements go. The contemplative meditation will follow one of the songs by our special guest today, Heartdream, who has been here before. A little bit of their background, and they do have CDs in the back. If you like the music and would like to support them, I'm sure they would appreciate you picking up some CDs at the back. But Heartdream is actually Steve and, is it Mirabai?
Yeah.
Mirabai Bangs. They're a husband and wife, singer, songwriter, musician team from the Bay Area. They create music of the heart that ranges in sound from meditative and soothing to uplifting and inspirational. Their original songs express a new vision of love, unity, and peace. On the night they met, Steve and Mirabai sang together and have been making beautiful music ever since. Heartdream is open for Marianne Williams. They sang at the Unity and CSL conventions and at many Unity churches and CSLs throughout the Western United States. As always, you are invited to visit their website.
On the night they met, Steve and Mirabai sang together and have been making beautiful music ever since. Heartdream is open for Marianne Williams. They sang at the Unity and CSL conventions and at many Unity churches and CSLs throughout the States. As always, you are invited to visit their website to see their videos and purchase their music. Their website is heartdream.com. The contemplative meditation with Claudia will follow, but Heartdream, give them a warm welcome.
Happy Mother's Day. I'm feeling especially like a mother right now. My mother died 3 weeks ago, and I'm the oldest mother left in my family. I'm an old mother now. So my daughter came to visit this weekend. And my granddaughter's here because she has a mother. My granddaughter went to breakfast with us this morning because she is also a mother. She has a new kitten. So for the meditation this morning, I'm going to read a short reading from there it is, from George Leonard. I don't know if you know who that is. He was a writer mostly in the 60s, I think. an educational writer. And then Jackson will take us into the service after we have a minute of quiet time. And after all the journeying, all the pain and joy, we may discover that the transformation was difficult to grasp, not because it was so far away, but because it was so very near. To find the immense world of delight is, in the end, to come home again where it always was.
One people living on one planet, joining in one family. We are all one people living on one planet, joining in one family. We are all one.
We are one, and as we feel the oneness, I feel like the swirling of spirit is among us. We feel together, yet each of us feels alone as one soul and one journey. We support each other here. We learn together. We love together. We sing together. We spend time together, and we sell plants together. I know that each of us comes to gain exactly what he or she needs on his or own personal journey, and that is provided by the musicians, by our guests, by Reverend Angelica, and by each other spending time with each other. I celebrate this time that we have together, and I know that it will be as it should be, and so it is.
One people living on one planet, joining in one family. We are all one.
And now with all that joy that we just funded, we welcome Reverend Angelica.
Thank you, Claudia. Thank you, Jackson. Thank you, Heartdream. Perfect beginning to our Sunday. So happy Mother's Day. I know that I can say that to everyone because there isn't anyone who doesn't have a mother. There's some of us that might not be mothers, maybe in the fact, like for myself, I've never had human children, but I've had many four-legged children. And one of my four-leggeds celebrated me, gifted me with peeing on the carpet this morning. I thought, oh no, it's not going to be that kind of day, is it? But that's okay. He's an old man cat. So what I know is that people of every race and culture have honored the mother in some way. So think for a moment about what your mother line is. Where does your timeline go? I mean, I'm Norwegian, right? So think about, what are you? Where does your timeline go? So I found a bunch of different ones. And so maybe your line goes back to Egypt and your mother line would end up with Hathor or Isis. Or if you were Peruvian, you'd have Pachamama. Greece has Gaia, Italy has Terra Mata, or Celtic has Anu, German has Nerthus, Norse has Frigga, Hindu has Durga, Native American has Spider Grandmother, and Christianity has Mary. So every single culture that I could think of the other day when I was thinking about this has a line that goes back not just to your physical mother, but to your spiritual mother as well. And we've been conditioned to think of a spiritual father. Unless, of course, you played around in Wiccan like I did and like Les does, and I don't know who else does, but, you know, then we've learned more to think of a more feminine idea of the divine. In fact, it sometimes becomes the earth itself. And when we think of our planet, is it a him or a her? It's a her. And think about all the things that the planet does for us. It nurtures us, it feeds us, it rains on us, and the sun shines on us, etc. It takes care of us. But what I know is that no matter what line you're in, it all goes back to the Mother Earth, the Great Mother. And even before that, it goes back to the divine feminine. If anybody ever read The Chalice and the Blade, when that book came out years and years and years and years ago, that was one of the things I really appreciated, was remembering that we started out as a matriarchy. Dr. Holmes says he defines the feminine principle as the universal soul, our subjective or subconscious intelligence. It's receptive to spirit, and it is impregnated with ideas. It gives birth to the ideas of spirit, and is therefore the feminine principle of nature. This whole idea of the feminine has been going around in my head for the past week because of Mother's Day. Now, you know, some people had really loving, wonderful mothers, and some didn't. And I know that in watching some of people on Facebook, that some people have a really hard time with this particular holiday because it's all about this ideal of the perfect mother. And after being a minister for 40 years and doing a lot of counseling, nobody had a perfect mother. There's always some little thing in there. But that doesn't stop you from loving them. I mean, even with everything that I went through with my mother, the woman that adopted me, there was still love there. I mean, I didn't realize how much love there was there until my plane landed 20 minutes after she died. And then I had to really, I burst out in tears when my sister picked me up and told me. And, you know, it was not just crying, it was like wailing kind of crying. And I had to really think about that later. You know, where did that come from? I didn't have a good childhood, you know. But there was love there. It reminds me, I suddenly had this flash of a image of, I used to live in this house in Southern California on a big piece of property, and I rarely went to the end of the property because it needed weeding and all that really badly, and I didn't want to remind myself of that. But I knew that the house in back of us, behind this chain link fence, there were dogs. And these dogs used to bark all the time. And I finally figured out that one of the reasons they were barking so much was because they were being neglected. And yet one day I'm out there wandering around through these trees that are down at the end of the property, and I see this guy come out of the back door of the house behind me, and I sort of stepped behind a tree because I wanted to see how the dogs acted toward him. And they ran up to him and their tails were wagging and they were so happy to see him. And I knew they had been neglected and abused. And I thought, wow, there's that unconditional love that we keep hearing about so much. But anyway, back to this idea of the feminine principle. I thought about if in my beginning classes, I talked to us about designing your own God. Not accepting the one that's been fed to us over the years, but designing one that fits us right now. And not very many of us design one that is feminine. Basically, it's no sex, non-sex at all. It's just an energy form. And we've list these qualities. This is a homework assignment, and people will list these qualities that they want their God to have for them. And so when I was thinking about this idea of the feminine principle of nature, I thought, and because this is the month that we're focusing on emotions, I had to put it in here somewhere. I figured we'd come up with some. So this is what I came up with. If I'm going to design the divine feminine, the divine mother for myself, what qualities do I want her to have? What emotions do I want to experience with her? And so I came up with lots, but I wouldn't have time for all that. So I picked 4. So the first one is I would want my divine mother to be compassionate. And you know, compassion, if you look at the root of the etymology of the word compassion, it actually means to suffer with another. I thought, ew, I don't like that idea. I don't want to suffer with somebody. But then I really thought about this idea of compassion. Compassion usually comes through us, the emotion of compassion, when we have gone through something that someone else is going through, or something sort of like it. We'll never go through the exact thing, but we have gone through something. And so we feel for them. We feel compassion for them because of what they're experiencing. So I would want my divine mother to be compassionate. I would also want her to be generous. And you know, when I think about this idea of generosity, and I think about our planet and those weeds that I just mentioned that were in my house's backyard, or the weeds right now that really need to be pulled under my beautiful roses that are starting to bloom, and I'm so excited. The universe, the planet, is really generous. It's only when we get into this human form, and not as children either, Children are very generous up to a certain age. I mean, they just give you stuff, you know? But then you get up to a certain age, and I'm not sure what that age is, but you start thinking about maybe there won't be enough, so I got to keep this. We lose some of our generosity. Now, you know, if we're really into the study of metaphysics, we'll realize that there is never any limits on anything. The universe just gives and gives and gives and gives on into infinity. We have thoughts and feelings about what we're being given. We have thoughts and feelings, perhaps that were fed to us as we grew up, that said, we don't have enough. Many of you, I'm sure, parents went through the Depression. Whose parents or grandparents went through the Depression era? Right? My mother used to, even though, now you know that I come from a wealthy family, and even when we'd go to hotel rooms, my mother would grab the shampoos and the soap and all that stuff to bring home. And I used to go, well, that smells good, but why are you taking it home? Well, you know, I might need it on another trip. And there was this idea of lack, this fear of lack there. So in this idea of having a generous divine mother, what I know is that it takes two. I have to be willing to accept the generosity, the things that are given. And I have to also accept the truth that Spirit always gives to us. Always, always, always. We begin to have a little bit of an understanding of it when we start learning how to manifest things. And then we realize, wow, all I have to do is open my mind, change my beliefs, and I can have just about anything I want. The universe just says yes. That's the universe's word. So the next one, I want an understanding divine mother. I want someone who will listen to me, who will take into consideration my ideas and or feelings and work on understanding those. And again, here's a quality that I picked that takes two. And I'm beginning to realize that any quality that I could assign to the Divine Mother takes me as part of that equation. It takes you as part of your equation with your relationship with the divine. I'm trying to move us into a relationship, and this is part of the understanding thing, into a relationship where you realize there is nothing to have a relationship with because you're it. You are God individualized. And as long as we think that it takes God and me, it won't be God as me, which is what Jesus was trying to teach us. He said, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father. He could have said, if you've seen me, you've seen the Mother. If you've seen me, you've seen Spirit or God or First Cause or whatever it is that you call this divine energy that is absolutely everywhere, that is the life force in this body, that is the source and substance of every cell and atom of this body. So here in this idea of understanding, I have to come into the understanding that yes, there is a divine energy absolutely everywhere. And guess what? We're it. And of course, loving. I want my divine mother to be loving. I had this years ago when I was in classes with Reverend Harlan Street, she did this meditation for us. And in my meditation, I had this image of the Divine Mother, and I climbed up on her lap. And I was like a little girl, and she like straightened my socks and brushed the hair out of my face and put her arms around me, and I was like held to her breasts, and I could feel her heartbeat, and it was just such an amazing feeling of unconditional love, absolutely unconditional love. And once again, if I want that, I have to be that. Whatever it is that we assign to our Divine Mother or our Divine Father, because we'll probably hear about this in June again for Father's Day. Whatever we want to assign to the powerful presence, this energy, this essence, this infinite, unnameable, whatever you want to call it, whatever we assign to that, if we choose something, if we assign something, that means we have to be it in order to experience it. And so for me, this idea of Mother's Day, for both men and women, is the ability to be, as Dr. Holmes said, oh, come on. Come on. There. We have to be receptive to spirit and be impregnated with ideas, giving birth to the ideas of spirit. Right now we're talking about the feminine principle. But we have to be willing to go there. And stop thinking that we're poor little old me or I'm just human. I've heard that so many times recently. Well, I'm just human. And I want to scream at the person and shake them and going, no, you're not. You're spirit. I can see you in there. So let's be this. So this is a little thing you get to do this week, is design your perfect feminine principle or Divine Mother or whatever you would like to call it. Allow yourself to really think about what you would like to have her be like for you. And then allow yourself to recognize that the only reason you can think of that is because it's already within you. You are that. So I need to apologize for something. I had put in the newsletter that we were going to have a flower ceremony for Mother's Day. And then I went to the places that I go to buy flowers when I do a flower ceremony. And oh my God, they were really expensive. And so I said, never mind. So when you're doing your imagining about your Divine Mother, imagine your favorite flower, and in your meditation, give that to your Divine Mother. So let's say this affirmation. It was written by our Hawaiian practitioner, Catherine Kane. I honor all the divine feminine natures that nurtured me into the being that I now am. For all the mothers, teachers, relatives, ministers, caregivers, etc., who poured out their love, patience, kindness, wisdom, and compassion to me, something to my greater good, I thank God. Sorry about that. Oh, wait a minute. How did that happen? Wait, there we go. I just wanted to, oh, it probably does say encouraging me to my highest good. See, that's the one thing about this little PowerPoint thing. Anyway, let's take this into treatment. Right here and right now, I allow myself to think of that feminine principle. Perhaps I personify it by making it into my Divine Mother. And I let myself realize that this feminine principle is active within me all the time. The universe is giving me ideas. I accept those ideas, impregnating my mind, my beliefs, myself, and allowing myself to give birth to those ideas. And so I celebrate the divine principle as it works in each one of us. I celebrate knowing that all the qualities of loving, of kindness, of compassion, generosity, all the qualities that I could assign to this divine presence are within me. And so I let myself be the one that manifests them in my life. I find myself gentler, more loving. I find it more easy to laugh and to feel joy. And I celebrate spirit, no matter what form it's in. I celebrate spirit because I know everything, absolutely everything, is spirit. And this is good. And I know for all of us, if our mothers have made their transitions already, I know that they are, as the Hawaiians saying, looking down and celebrating us. In the Hawaiian tradition, those that have passed before us are taking care of our spiritual business while we take care of our earthly business. And so I open my heart even more than I have to experience that spiritual business as a real part of my life. And I'm grateful, so grateful. For my birth mother, my adopted mother, all the women that have mothered me over the years, for my own ability to mother. I honor the divine feminine today in all of us. And so with a grateful heart, I know for each one of us that we honor that divine feminine within us as well, within us and around us. And we celebrate it with every fiber of our being. And in some way, we allow ourselves to be transformed, even if it's only a little bit, into a greater person, a spirit, a human, individualized God. And so I release these words into divine law, knowing that they are already so, and so it is. Now we get to have 2 songs by Heartdream, so let's give them a welcome.
This song is called Raindrops Fall in a Clear Crystal Bowl, and it was written out in nature at the top of Mount Haleakala in Maui.
Feeling the warmth welling up inside.
my soul. From my dream I awaken to sing. Gratitude and thanks for everything.
Violet Lumora in my third eye is way too dazzling, brilliance of light. My third eye opens up to bliss. One is with God is the highest gift of
Raindrops fall in a clear crystal bowl. Every chord harmonizes my soul. From my dream I awaken to sing. Gratitude and thanks for everything.
rivers of melody connect me to you. Songs of ancient wisdom arise and flow through, and I'm melt into the ecstasy of grace, surrounded by love in God's pure
Raindrops fall in a clear crystal bowl. Every chord harmonizes my soul. From my dream I awaken to sing. Gratitude and thanks for everything.
raindrops fall in a clear
Before you start your next one, I just noticed something I need to do to my computer.
This song goes perfectly with what you were talking about. It's called Only Love is Real.
It's called what?
Only Love is Real.
Walk into the
remember that on the back table, they have some CDs, etc., and you could also find things in their website if you want to. And there's some nice videos on their website. You know, I was thinking as you were singing, I read something on your website that when one of the swamis that you studied with said that your voice, Mirabai, was like a flute. I thought that was so neat. That was great. And I have to ask you, Ann, how many years have you guys been singing together?
50 years.
Yay! Very good. No wonder you blend in so perfectly. Great. All right, I'm going to share our screen again for a moment. Go back to... And then... So let's think about our offering this morning. And maybe you might want to imagine that you're holding it in your hand or to your heart. And let's say this blessing together. I gratefully give from the fullness of my abundance, knowing my gift blesses this center, all in it and beyond, and so it is. And if you need the information on how to donate, here you go. For those of us here in the center, the baskets are not being passed at this time, but they are on the back table. And there's also envelopes, etc. So, and let's just know that that generosity that we were talking about a moment or two ago, that generosity of spirit is always available to us. And so this center appreciates all the gifts that are given because it lets us have this beautiful building, lets us do the work that we do in our community and for each other, have classes and do all of this. And all of this is a divine idea in the mind of the one. And so we're grateful, so grateful, knowing that we're supported by spirit. And generosity is who we are. And so it is. Who would like to read our community statement of inclusion today? Casey! Yay, Casey! It's so good to see you. Come up here. You got to use the microphone.
Casey in the house.
Casey's in the house. Yay! She drove down just for us.
Of course, of course.
All right.
Okay.
So go for it.
Okay.
Can you see it all right on that one?
Oh, yeah, that would be good. Our community statement of inclusion. We, the Eureka and Ukiah Centers for Spiritual Living, are communities that celebrate diversity, foster inclusion, champion inner work, and create space for brave, vulnerable conversations. We are communities that honor the unique emanation of God that each person embodies and advocate with people for human rights and dignity for all. We are communities that bless each other, see sacredness in all life, remain learners and listeners so we may grow together, and understand the oneness is not sameness. We know our beloved community is revealed more fully when we love each other well. And boy, do I love you guys well. And thank you for your prayers for getting me through the stroke I had 3 weeks ago. Amazing but true, but I know your prayers saved my little tush. And I cannot thank you enough. And I love you all and I miss you all. Thank you, Angelica.
We miss you too. Thank you.